My name is Jonathan Griffith and I'm the registered manager. So this is Furzeham Lodge Care Home in Brixham, Devon. We're part of a group. There's 3 homes in our group. There's one in Axminster and one in Honiton, but this is the only one that we've got in this area. We're an EMI residential care home, so we cater to people that are aged 65 plus, and some of those people that we cater to have got physical disabilities. Some have got mental conditions such as dementia, and some are just people that are elderly on their own and like to have a bit of company, so they join us as well. Definitely the favourite part of the job is the interactions with the residents. Some of the bonds that you can build. It's impossible to care to people, or to care for people rather, and not get attached to them over the years when you're there day in, day out with them. Okay, so as a healthcare assistant, you can expect when you come in of a morning to be getting a handover first of all, so you know exactly what's been happening over the last shift. If there's anything important you need to know, if we're waiting on any doctors, if somebody's had a fall, anything that's important before you start your shift. We'll then break off into different areas, so somebody will be doing showers, somebody will be doing the breakfast, somebody will be administering the medications, and then obviously the personal care as well. If you're on the personal care, you'll be helping people to get washed, dressed, do their mouth care, perhaps have a shave, tend to fingernails if they're looking a bit dirty or long, helping them pick out the clothes for the day, helping them with their mobility, making their bed, sorting out their laundry, and then assisting them down into the dining room if that's where they want to go for their breakfast, or some people will want to take it in their room. Then throughout the day, again, it's helping people with mobility around the home wherever they wish to go, making sure they get from A to B safely and dignified, helping people with toileting if they need assistance with that. Lunchtime, we'll try and get everyone to meet in the dining room and to eat there if we can. It's not mandatory, they can eat where they want, but we try and make it a social function if we can, so we encourage them to get together for their meals. We'll then take the meals out to them wherever they are. You might have to do some care plan recording on what foods and drinks they've eaten, how much they've eaten, and obviously with your personal care throughout the day you're doing that as well. Okay, so for the nighttime routine, again the night staff will come in, they'll have their handover at the start of shift, find out what's been happening for that day and the night before. They'll then go around, make sure the building's secure, make sure all the residents are accounted for, because the last thing you want to do is find out somebody's gone missing in the middle of the night. So we'll make sure the building's secure, make sure everyone's accounted for, and then again it's just kind of suppers, as and when they want something they get it, helping people get ready for bed or into bed if they need help, assistance with their mobility. And then each person's got their own agreed routine overnight. So some people might be being checked on hourly, some people might be checked on 2 hourly, 4 hourly, or not at all. Some people don't want to be disturbed at all, but that's all in their care plan. Okay, so in terms of your kind of work-home life balance, each person's obviously got their own contracted hours, which is agreed when you come to work. Our shifts basically are either a 7-1, an 8 till 2, a 2 till 8, or an 8 till 8. A lot of people like to do the 8 till 8s if they're on 40-hour contracts, so that they can get their hours in over less days, which then obviously gives them more days off. It's quite a rewarding job. It's also something where you can talk to other staff and you can, perhaps agree a swap between you and then approach the management team and say, is it okay if me and this person swap these shifts around? And generally we're quite good with that, and we'll help people. As long as we've still got the right skill mix and the right number of people on, we're normally quite happy to agree things like that. So you get all your mandatory trainings, so your infection control, your manual handling, your first aid, your COSH, all the other ones. We tend to encourage our staff to do MVQ training as well. But again, I think a lot of what you'll get the most out of is actually hands-on delivering care, working with other people. And when you do your MVQs, then you can also then draw on the experiences that you've had within the care to help you pass through your MVQs nice and quickly. And it's nice when you've got a question to be able to relate that to an experience, and it helps you kind of process it more, or certainly it did with me anyway. It helps you process, right, this is what we would do in this situation, and then you can obviously put that down on paper for your MVQ. Progressing is pretty simple really. It's just a case of being reliable, number one, because you're not going to get a position of responsibility if you're not reliable. Putting the work in, being passionate about what you do, having that can-do attitude and that wanting to learn attitude. Myself, I started off as a healthcare assistant and then have progressed up to being a manager. That took about 10 years to do that. But again, that's going to differ depending on the situation. I could maybe have done that quicker if I'd have been willing to move to a different home. There's lots of managers' jobs that become available. It's a worthwhile career, but it is something that's very time consuming. It's a lot of responsibility, and I think it's not something I'd say rush into. I'd say it's something you definitely want to build up some experience first and try and learn off the managers that you work with. You know, it's adding the tools to your bag. So you'll work with some managers that are good at one thing and some managers that are good at another, and you try and pinch the best bits from each to build up your own skill set. A pay scale in terms of what position you do. So obviously, you know, your healthcare assistants are not on quite as much as your senior healthcare assistants, who are not on as much as the care manager, who are not on as much as the registered manager. So there is a stepped approach there, but again, it all comes down to the responsibility of the position that you're doing. The more responsibility you take on, the more financial rewarding that can be. So we employ an activities coordinator Monday to Friday, 10 till 5, and they do all sorts of different activities. They'll start the day generally with a group wake and shake session, so just kind of getting the arms and legs moving, getting the heart pumping a bit. We've found that's helped to reduce the number of falls in the home massively. It's also, we believe, although it's difficult to prove, we don't seem to be seeing as many people, their mobility declining as fast as we have done in the past, but again, that's quite subjective. Once they've had their wake and shake session, then the activities coordinator will pair off with them individually. So we've got 22 rooms, so obviously one activities coordinator might do 2 or 3 people one day and then 2 or 3 people the next day, go and spend about half an hour or so with each one. And they'll do whatever activities that person wants to do. So, you know, you might want to do knitting, the next person might want to do word searches, somebody else might want to do a crossword, but they'll go and do individual what that person wants to do. Maybe it's playing cards.
We try and do like singing, and we do like extra puzzles and painting, trying to get them involved with painting and knitting, and also try and take them out as well, like in the wheelchair. If they need to be in a wheelchair, we take them to the gardens down the bottom of the road, and also when it's nice weather in the back garden, they enjoy. We have like teas in the afternoon, like cream teas, and we do have table and chairs, but they're going to be coming out towards the warmer, months and that. So they do like to enjoy that as well. And the best of all I like doing is taking them out in a minibus, because we do have a minibus that for the care home, because we've got 2 sister homes as well. So the minibus is shared between the 3 care homes. So we have to book it in advance and hope that, you know, we get nice weather and they can go out, because it will be the first time they'll be actually going out this year because of the COVID. So it's been very, very difficult to try and do activities as well with them. The importance of them is just try and get them sort of like working, doing exercises, you know, like get them going, get them thinking, trying to get them to think of like reminiscence times, you know, when in general, like the things they used to do when they were younger, because they tend to know a lot more of the past rather than today, from day to day. So it is important for me to give them that a bit more involved with people, you know, like being socialising, rather than just being sat in their room doing nothing, because it can become very boring for them. It means a lot to me. I can't explain them. I just feel great that I can actually help them to enjoy themselves and see them smile and happy as long as they're safe and well. I get the pleasure of knowing that I've made them happy, because sometimes they can be quite sad, and then I can be there to try and turn that around and try and get them involved in something and bring joy to them.
Well, the people that we've had on work experience so far, we've tried to pair them up with different people, because again, you'll learn different things from different staff. Everyone's got their own strengths and weaknesses. Where we can, we'll try and pair you with the more experienced and the stronger members of staff, because you've got more that you'll learn from that person. But again, you know, you've got somebody that might be fantastic at care plan recording, and yet you've got somebody else who might be first class at manual handling. So, you know, we'll try and get you to work with different people, but generally you'll work with one person on that shift. So, you know, yeah, nutrition relates into pretty much everything of what we do, really. Multiple reasons. One, their food and their fluid intake can be a big sign of something going wrong. So obviously if their food intake or their fluid intake starts to drop, that can be a sign that there's something going on behind the scenes that you might not otherwise be able to see yet, that they're unwell in some way, particularly with dementia, because they can often not have those language skills to communicate to you, I'm not feeling well. So it can be other things that you pick up on, like change in appetite.
We have our meat delivered once a week from the local butchery. Everything's filleted for us. Our main bulk of food, cereals, tins, comes from the local cash and carry. And we have our eggs delivered, which is from another local source. Milk and vegetables come from another local source. Potatoes and everything. So yeah, try and keep it local. We've got a list on the wall, the dangers of what people are on special processed food when you have to blend it, which we've got a blender, so there's no lumps, and it's what stages they're at. So it all gets monitored. And thickening drinks as well. So yeah, they're all catered for.
If you've got somebody who's got dysphasia and they're really struggling with their swallowing, they'll be on a particular texture of diet that they should be taking, and it's really, really important that that's stuck to the letter. I do know of an incident that happened at another home where a lady ended up having to have CPR because she was given the wrong texture of food. So it's super, super important. You shouldn't interrupt people when they're doing medication rounds, although trying to explain that to some visitors or some residents, it can be difficult when you're doing a meds round. I've seen it from both sides. So when you're administering medications and you've got people bugging you for phone calls or something else, it distracts you away from what you're doing, and it makes it much more likely that you're going to make a medication error, and again, that could be potentially fatal. You know, you could give somebody something that they've got an allergy to, or you could overdose somebody on something. So you want to let somebody who's doing medication concentrate and make sure that they're getting that done properly. You want to obtain consent with washing and dressing, not just washing and dressing anyway, really. You want to do it with everything, because they've got the right to refuse that if they want to. You know, if you was to come into me of a morning at 6 o'clock in the morning and say, right, come on Jonathan, it's time to get up, washed and dressed, you probably wouldn't like the answer that you'd get back from me, because I'm not much of a morning person. Likewise, I'm a bit of a night owl, so if you was to come in at 10 o'clock at night and say, come on Jonathan, it's time to get ready for bed, again, you're not going to like the answer you want to get. So it's important that you get the consent, that they're happy for you to do that. They have got the right to refuse under the Mental Capacity Act, and it's really, really important that we respect everybody's rights, the same as you wouldn't want somebody to disrespect your rights. You know. Independence with personal care is a big one for me, actually. It keeps the person feeling that they're in control of their own life. It keeps the person feeling that they're worthwhile, that they're not just a job for somebody to be doing, that they're not a burden on somebody. You do see at stages in people's life that they just give up, they don't want to be here anymore, and then that then comes with a whole host of knock-on things. They'll stop eating, they'll stop drinking, they'll stop engaging with people, they'll stop trying to do things to themselves, even so much as getting out of bed to go and use the toilet. They'll just be incontinent and lie in it because they just don't want to be there anymore. And it's sad, but you do see it sometimes. So it's really important that we try and keep people going, and you know, like with ourselves, you wouldn't just sit there at home staring at a blank wall or staring at a TV all day every day. You know, you want to go out, you want to go into town, you want to go and socialise with friends and keep relationships with other people and follow your interests, and it's part parcel of what we all need, our basic needs to keep going. You always want to be watching for as many things as possible, but again, that's something that will come with experience. You know, it's when you start, it is difficult to try and remember everything, and you will make mistakes. Everybody does. The more experience you've got, the more it comes as second nature. I mean, you don't think about riding a bike now, you just jump on and do it.